Is honesty subjective? I just wanted to share this quick video with y'all and kind of have something to think about for today. But anyways, I hope y'all are alive and well and have a good day. And it kind of got me thinking yesterday about honesty and how sometimes that could say you want something, but then you're honest about kind of where you're at on a particular subject, and then that alters, say you have two people that are making a decision together, and you're honest about kind of where you're at on it, and then as much as you would want that other person to maybe understand that they're their own person too, and they have their own decision making as well, and the outcomes they would want. And so by being honest, which is vulnerability, because you don't know how the other person's gonna act or react or think, and then that could alter what it could lead to the result of something that you may have not wanted. And so maybe that's why people kind of are vague, or they don't really want to be completely honest. And then it kind of got me thinking about people rationalizing their decisions, as far as like some person can do something bad, or what others may think are bad, and then they can go into some kind of rationalization where they're like justifying their behavior, and then it makes it okay. And there's of course extreme examples, and some that are like more subtle, and you're like, oh, that's kind of a gray area, or kind of like, oh, that's a little white lie, oh, it's like, well, I mean, that's not honesty. I mean, so it's like, and so that's that whole, like, is it subjective? Like, and I'm not saying that everybody owes everybody the truth. That's, their decisions and how they want to live, and what kind of principles that they want to live by. And I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not saying that I've always been completely honest. Definitely not when I was younger. But there's been times, even like of recent, that I've kind of caught myself kind of very misleading and basically pretty much lying. And it's like, man, I don't want to live like that. It's on small stuff, again, like kind of like the white lies. So I'm not by no means like judging people at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's like, it's kind of how, like, I look at it, like, is like a dartboard, like a target. You got like a group of people or close ones, like in your bullseye, or that other ring that's like around the bullseye. You got your like a few people that are like close to you, and then the farther out you go, it's like, you could be like, oh, they're kind of a friend, oh, and they're just like a work acquaintance I've said hi to, like, and there's people like you don't even know, the farther out you go. So it's like the closer into the people, closer into you, those relationships, you would think that like, the more honest you are, right? You know, it's like, oh, someone, you know, is brutally honest. You know, it's like people, unfortunately, like people bet, you know, like, well, hey man, you got $2 to sit outside of a gas station. You got $2 and you have like a couple $100. You're like, oh, I ain't got no cash. I just got a credit card. Yeah, that's straight up lying to them. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but it's like, man, what are they gonna do with it? Like, you know, when I sit there and have a conversation with, oh, what are you gonna do with it? You know, if I don't really feel like giving you $2 because I think you're gonna do this with it. Like, is that brutal honesty? You know, is there assumption there? You know, or do I owe those people that? You know what I mean? So I get that that's, you know, or maybe I stand on those principles and be like, no, I'm not giving you $2, you know, or no, I have $2, but I'm not giving it to you, you know, I don't know, that's something I'm learning, but it's like when those people are close to you and, you know, you feel that they've been pretty honest, you know, that you know of. And then there's times where you may catch them in like, it's really bumpy here. And then there's times where you may catch them in like one of these white lies, right? Where you're like, why don't you just tell me, you know? And then, you know, it's kind of like you've been honest about some things, like, and then whenever maybe a relationship doesn't align or like decisions don't align, then that gives, you know, justification to not tell this person the truth. Like, you just, you know, kind of mislead them, or like are just not completely lie, but say, oh, some stuff happened, or something came up, or oh, I forgot about that, and, you know, and kind of, you know, I don't know, I guess what I'm saying is like, then you feel like you've probably been lied to. And it's like, hey, I mean, I was just completely honest with you, and we've been honest with each other as far as I know. And then all of a sudden you're like, that doesn't make any sense. You know, especially like when I was younger, it's funny, like I've had, so when I was younger, it, like, when I say younger, I mean like in my 20s, I knew something was off with my dad. And this is not what this is about. This is just generalization. But I'll give an example of kind of where I'm going with, like, oh, now once you tell the truth that you know, and like maybe like that relationship is like dissolving, or it was really one-sided, or, you know, now this person's not going to get what they want out of it, so they don't, you know, owe you honesty, you know. Anyway, so when I was younger, you know, my dad would, you know, he would ask for help, and you help do some work and stuff like that. And then at some point, you start to realize, like, that when you don't have time, or say you want to start, like, you know, it's like, I have my own life to live too. Like, I have to do stuff. And then so when you realize that you have these things to do, or other things that are pulling you somewhere, you start to really realize, especially how this person starts treating other people when they don't do things that this person wants. Like, it got to the point, to the severity that, like, I started watching people around my dad, and then even me, really, which has affected our relationship. That's why I haven't talked to him in quite some time. Is you're basically when what this other person doesn't get what they want out of you, and basically is using you out just for what you can provide them, you realize like, oh, this person just basically discards people. If he has no use for you, if you don't serve his purpose, there's no use for you. Like, it just treats you like crap. And so I learned that early on with people, and I had to learn it the hard way through my own dad, you know. And so that's why, you know, I bring this up about honesty being is like subjective, or is it, you know? But anyways, I'm parking here, and I'll hang out here for a bit and then go into work. But yeah, so the sun's coming up. It's nice when it's out. It was warm yesterday, but yeah, so that's just something I wanted to think about and talk about. You know, is you know, brutal honesty can sometimes be brutal on us, like the person, you know, being honest, and not just the other person, you know. And then one can say, well, is it? Because if, you know, if you're trying to be reasonable and, you know, be polite about stuff, you know, and then someone takes it a different way, you know, you know, and say, you know, calls you names, or, you know, starts misleading you because, you know, stuff doesn't align. You know, is it really about hurting you, or creating space for, you know, either more decision making with both parties? Or is it, you know, maybe the beginning of a new you know, relationship between the two, or the, you know, basically the slow or possibly abrupt decay in the relationship. So that's why it can be kind of brutal. Anyways, you know, so it's not always the easiest. You know, they say the truth will set you free, you know, and honesty is always the best policy. So I guess it's something to consider. You know, especially when we get closer, or you know, where these people are closer in, you know, with our relationships, and decision making. But anyways, I'm gonna get going. I hope y'all have a good day.